Do you think Grandma will make it? Let's pray. Grandma is fighting hard. My mother-in-law Mary, who was fine until yesterday, collapsed from a heart attack. She was found by one of her granddaughters, Karen, who lives with her. We prayed desperately outside the ICU, but our prayers were in vain and Mary passed away. Mary have 4 children, including my husband John, but they only came to the house the next morning after she passed away. Despite my doubts about Mary's 4 children, we somehow finished preparing for her funeral. About a week after the funeral. As our life is finally returning back to normal. That day, after I brought my 2 kids to elementary school and preschool, while watering the flowers in the garden, the mailman arrived. Among the few postcards he handed me was a slightly thicker envelope. What could this be? The handwriting on the front was familiar, and to my shock, it was from Mary. I gasped and quickly went inside. Taking a deep breath, I opened the envelope and found a letter and something else inside. Please make sure none of my children will notice when you read this. The letter began with this line explaining that Mary had asked a close friend to send it after her dies, expressing gratitude towards me and her concern for my children, Kevin and Emma, and her hopes for her other granddaughter, Karen's future. Aside from the letter, there was also a map drawn on another piece of paper. I quickly reached out to Karen, and we headed to the place indicated on the map. This is. Mary has been helping us even until the end. Karen, I've made up my mind. You have my full support, Auntie. I made a firm decision. My name is Elizabeth Harper. I live with my husband John, our first-grade son Kevin, and our 3-year-old daughter Emma. I got married at 32, which was a bit late or depending on your perspective, and it took some time for us to have kids. I still remember how overjoyed I was when I finally got pregnant at 37, I was in tears. After getting pregnant, I quit the job I'd held for 15 years since graduating from college. My coworkers were sad to see me go, but as a team leader working late every day, I couldn't imagine raising kids and continuing the job. I want to cherish the time with my child who finally came into our lives. However, I had a hard time deciding because I felt like I'd be left behind if I'll stop working. Once the kids are in preschool and you have more time, you can work at my place a bit. You won't have to worry about rushing or asking favors, we're family. My mother-in-law Mary, who ran a deli, casually said this to me, and her words helped me decide to quit. Mary lost her husband young and raised 4 kids on her own. She is a tough, strong-willed mother. Mary, I think you gave me too much side dish. You're complaining. Just eat up and keep working hard this afternoon. She never sweated the small stuff and she was more sensitive to others' feelings than anyone. I remember when I was feeling down because I couldn't get pregnant. Be optimistic. That's right. Starting tomorrow, stop by the deli before work. From that day, she made me eat homemade lunch every day, knowing I'm too busy and eating only quick meals from the convenience store. Eat well. It's important to keep your body healthy. She never said it outright, but she was helping me keep my body in shape to increase my chances of getting pregnant. My sisters-in-law, Sarah and Nancy, and my brother-in-law Tom, all married and had children early, so by this time, Mary already have 11 grandchildren. She lived with Sarah, who moved back home after her divorce, along with her 3 kids, while Nancy and Tom's families lived nearby. Mary could see her 11 grandchildren anytime she wanted. I'm sure she was more than satisfied with her grandkids by then. Despite that, she cried with joy when I got pregnant and gave birth. I've always had absolute trust in her, both back then and now. After 7 years as a stay-at-home mom, with Emma starting preschool, I decided to work part-time at Mary's Deli. Mary, you won't believe it. Kevin broke another umbrella and came home. While washing dishes, I vented to my mother-in-law about my kids. I was so frustrated that he had broken 2 umbrellas in the last few months, but Mary listened calmly. He wasn't bullied by his friends, right? No, he and his friends were competing to see who could dig the deepest hole with their umbrellas. It's good that he's competitive. Plus, now he knows umbrellas aren't for digging. Seeing Mary laugh, I couldn't help but laugh too. The frustration I had felt from being angry yesterday started to fade. I realized that this is how a mother should handle things, with calmness. Being around Mary, I constantly found a lot of things to learn from her. She is the ideal mother figure for me. By the way, Mom, do you have plans this Sunday? I've got nothing. Everyone's too busy these days. She looked a bit lonely as she said that. Her grandkids who lived with her and nearby are all in middle school or older now. They're busy with sports and hanging out with their friends, they don't spend quality time with her. Well, Kevin's been saying he wants to go to a pizza restaurant. Why don't we all go together? I'm looking forward spending time with Kevin and Emma. Thank you for always inviting me. Mary's face softened. Mary has always been very fond of my kids, Kevin and Emma. In return, both my kids are so attached to her, I'd love to take them and visit Mary more often, but with my Sarah's family also living there, it's a bit hard to go there casually. On the other hand, there's no parking space at our house to invite her over. So, my husband and I decided that we'd invite Mary out every couple of weeks for a short trip or a meal, so she could see and spend time with our kids. Kevin and Emma love sitting next to their grandma, so they always fight over who gets to sit next to Mary. Watching them, Mary would always smile warmly. Is John working again today? Yes. He's been really busy since he became a manager. I see. That's tough. My husband used to come with us, but lately, he's been working more weekends, so it's just us three with Mary. I didn't mind too much because it couldn't be helped, plus, the kids are easier to manage now. Still, the lonely look on Mary sometimes bothers me. Next time, I'll make sure to ask John about his schedule before inviting you. Mary looked surprised and shook her head with a smile. Oh, don't worry about that. I'm really happy you and your kids can spend time with me. With that, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. Huh? Mary smiled gently and slowly opened the box. This here is my treasure box. This is a ring I got from my late husband, and this is a necklace I bought with my first ever paycheck. I smiled at her holding the treasure chest full of memories. What's in the little pouch? I pointed at a small drawstring bag. You can open it when I say it's okay. What do you mean? Mary gave a mischievous smile. I'm giving you my treasure box, Elizabeth. I'm past the age for dressing up anyway. With that, Mary carefully closed the box and placed it in front of me. But, these are all your precious things. I want you to have them be casual to me, you're my precious daughter. Mary's words touched my heart deeply. I'll treasure it, Mom. Mary smiled warmly and gently hugged Kevin, who was sitting beside her. That's not fair, Grandma. Hug me too. I'll give you a big hug later when we go outside, okay? Mary looked kindly at Emma, who was pouting with her cheeks puffed out. If she shows this much love to her grandchildren and me, I'm sure she cares deeply for her own children more. Feeling a bit sad that my husband doesn't seem to realize his mother's love and concern, I promised myself that next time, Mary would see him in good spirits. However, that didn't happen. One weekend, I went out with Kevin and Emma. Is Grandma coming soon? We invited Mary too, but she said she was going to the salon in the morning, so we agreed to meet at the restaurant for lunch. Both my kids were eagerly waiting for their Grandma Mary outside the restaurant. But she didn't show up at the agreed time. I tried calling her several times, but she didn't answer either. Mary always made a point of answering the phone within 3 rings, a habit she does because of her work. That habit was so ingrained that she even answered the phone quickly outside of work. But today, even after more than 10 rings, she didn't pick up. Knowing how responsible Mary is, she would definitely have called back if her appointment was running late. What could have happened? I started to worry. After waiting for 30 minutes, Mary still hadn't shown up, and she still hasn't answered the phone. Is Grandma coming now? I'm hungry. Me too. I want to eat now. Both Kevin and Emma were getting cranky from hunger, but I hesitated to go into the restaurant without Mary. Here, have some gummies, let's wait for Grandma a little longer. I gave the kids the gummies and thought, maybe something happened. Should I go check the house? Just then, the phone rang. It's my niece. Karen? The name on the caller ID wasn't Mary's, but Karen, Sarah's youngest daughter. Hello, Karen? Perfect timing. Is Grandma with you? Aunt Elizabeth. Karen, what's wrong? I asked if Mary was at home, but Karen was crying so much she couldn't get the words out. Grandma's collapsed. Aunt Elizabeth, what should I do? I heard Karen's trembling, frail voice. Mary? No. I was speechless. Karen was on the verge of panic, and her sobbing echoed through the phone. Snapping back to reality, I spoke to calm her down. It's okay. Take a deep breath. I was honestly pretty shaken too, but I couldn't afford to panic as the adult here. I steadied my shaking hands. Where is Grandma? Where did she collapse? Near the front door. I'll call an ambulance right now. Stay with her. We'll be there soon. I hung up and immediately called for an ambulance to go to Mary's house. Is Grandma sick? I turned to see my kids looking at me with worried faces. It seems so. We're going to see Grandma now, okay? I took their hands and headed to the parking lot. On the way, I stopped by a convenience store to grab some sandwiches for the kids to eat in the car since they were hungry. Grandma loves ham and egg sandwich. With that, Kevin quickly put an extra sandwich in the basket for Mary. I'm going to share this chocolate with Grandma, Emma said as she tossed a chocolate bar into the basket. Please. Not now, Mary. Fight for these kids. I prayed desperately. On the way to Mary's house, I got a call from Karen saying Mary was being taken to the university hospital. We rushed to the university hospital. When we arrived, Karen was sitting alone, head down, on the sofa outside the ICU. Karen. Aunt Elizabeth. As soon as she looked up, tears started rolling down Karen's cheeks. You did well on your own. It's okay, now. I sat next to Karen and gently rubbed her back. After a while, once Karen had calmed down, she told me about finding Mary. Karen is in her senior year of high school, had been at club practice that morning. She returned home just before lunch and found the front door unlocked. Feeling uneasy, she carefully opened the door and found her grandmother Mary collapsed inside. I'm sorry for calling you out of the blue. My mom, my brother, and my sister wouldn't pick up. I had no one else to call but you. Karen said apologetically. No, you did the right thing, thank you for calling me. We were supposed to have lunch with Grandma today. When she didn't show up and we couldn't reach her, we were really worried. But I never imagined she had collapsed. I regretted not heading straight to Mary's house when I couldn't reach her. Then, the hospital staff came over. According to the staff, Mary had collapsed from a heart attack. Her condition is already critical when she was brought in, and though they were doing everything they could, there is no guarantee she would survive. We need to contact everyone. Karen and I split up calling the family, but no one picked up. Why isn't anyone answering at a time like this? I was especially frustrated that I couldn't even reach my husband. Lately, not only was he working weekends, but he had been coming home late on weekdays too. He often comes home tipsy. He would always say it was for work or to boost his team's morale, but lately, it feels like he is just neglecting us. Your mom's been wanting to see you, you know. I know. I'll join in next time for sure. But on his days off, he'd still leave in the morning saying, something came up at work. Which is more important, work or family? This incident happened while I'm already feeling frustrated with him. Your mom collapsed and is in critical condition. Please call me immediately. I sent this message, but neither my husband nor any of his siblings replied. Is it always this hard to get in touch with your mom, brother, and sister? When I asked, Karen nodded. Everyone in our house does their own thing. It's usually just Grandma and me having dinner together. Really? I had no idea. At least, Mary never mentioned it. According to Karen, her mother, Sarah, never helps around the house and often leaves without notice. She's been like that since they were young. Mary often lectures Sarah about it. You're the mother of 3 kids. Get yourself together. But you're better at housework and raising kids than I am, Mom. Well, I did raise 4 kids. It's natural. If you do it every day, you'll get better at it too. Mary tried to help Sarah become a better mother, but Sarah continued living for herself, coming and going as she pleased. So even while working, Mary did her best to take care of Karen and her siblings, with a smile on her face. But after growing up seeing their mom like that, Karen's siblings didn't appreciate Mary and live however they want, leaving everything to her. Now that I think about it, whenever Mary talked to me, she always mentions your name, Karen. I suddenly remembered. She'd tell me how your hamburgers are the best in the world, or how when her eyesight gets foggy, you're always trying to assist her. She always smiles when she talks about you. Hearing this, tears once again welled up in Karen's eyes. Do you think Grandma will make it? Let's pray. Grandma is fighting hard. But our prayers were in vain, and Mary passed away. Even as I looked at Mary lying in the bed, her usual soft expression made it seem like she was just sleeping. Grandma, we bought a ham and egg sandwich for you. Grandma, let's eat chocolate together. My kids, thinking she was just asleep, called out to Mary. Grandma's not going to wake up anymore. She's gone to heaven. Where's heaven? Is it a nice place? It's a really nice place. Grandma's probably happy to see Grandpa again. I repeated my own words to myself. Yes, Mary must be reunited with her husband she had longed to see again. I hope they'd enjoy their time together from now on, and thinking about that, I didn't cry. After receiving the necessary information from the hospital, we headed to Mary's house to start preparing for her funeral. It was already dusk, but still no one was home. The kitchen, however, was prepared for dinner. It was probably beef stew for dinner. There was enough for 5 people. Even though she didn't know when they'd be home or if they'd eat, Mary always made sure there was enough food for everyone. Until the very end, Mary's kindness and greatness touched my heart. Mary's colleagues from her deli came to the house too. We want to help as much as we can for Mary. They said this as they helped us with the funeral preparations. While sharing stories about Mary, we worked together to tidy the house and plan everything. Karen was the only one who knew much about the house, but as a high schooler, there are things she didn't understand, making the preparations difficult. I thought Sarah would come back eventually, but she never did, and none of Mary's children called back or sent a message in response. I had a lot on my mind, but I focused on Mary and took the lead in getting things done. My husband and his siblings didn't show up at the house until the next morning. What were you doing all this time? I shot a cold glare at my husband. There was a problem at work. I was utterly disgusted that even after his own mother passed away, he is still using work as an excuse. It wasn't just him. None of his siblings, including Sarah, expressed any gratitude for staying with Mary or helping with the funeral preparations. All right then, we'll see you at the funeral. Let us know if you need anything. Sensing the strange atmosphere, Mary's coworkers quietly left. During the funeral, both Karen and I held back our grief to fulfill our duties as family, but all of Mary's 4 children made no effort to help. Thinking about all 4 of them upsets me, so I focused on the time I had left with Mary. A week had passed after the funeral. Life was finally returning to normal. As I brought the kids to school and preschool and tended the garden, the mailman came. Among the few postcards he handed me was a slightly thick envelope. What could this be? The handwriting on the envelope was familiar, and to my shock, it is from Mary. I gasped and hurried inside. Taking a deep breath, I opened the envelope to find a letter and something else inside. Please make sure none of my children notices this. The letter began with this sentence, explaining that Mary had asked a close friend to send it. It expressed her gratitude toward me and her hopes for Kevin, Emma, and Karen's future. Aside from the letter, there was another piece of paper with a map on it. I quickly reached out to Karen and headed to the place indicated on the map. This is. Mary helped us right to the end. Karen, I've made up my mind. You have my full support, Auntie. I made a firm decision. A month later, we were called to Mary's house by the family lawyer. Besides us, Sarah's, Nancy's, and Tom's families had also gathered at the house. It turned out that Mary had prepared a will before her death and left it with the lawyer. The will handed over by the lawyer stated that Sarah, John, Nancy, and Tom will all have equal share for everything Mary had left. Since it didn't concern me, I thought I'd go upstairs and take care of the kids. Just as I stood up, I heard something unbelievable. She was a noisy old hag, but at least she left us some inheritance. The voice belonged to my husband. Yeah, putting up with her paid off. All four of them were mocking Mary, and I finally snapped. I don't want anything to do with any of you anymore. And that includes you. With that, I slammed the divorce papers, already signed on my end, onto the table. The room fell completely silent. Well, what's this all of a sudden? You all survive because I'm the one working. My husband glared at me sharply, but I glared right back. You weren't working late on weekends and weeknights, you were cheating, weren't you? I have all the proof. With that, I spread all the documents about the affair investigation report on the table. In fact, Mary's letter had included a key to a public locker marked on the map. When Karen and I went to open the locker, we found my husband's affair investigation report inside. Given how my husband had been working on weekends, Mary must have sensed something was off. This was a mother's intuition at its finest. Mary had secretly hired a private detective to gather evidence of John's affair. I had never suspected an affair, so I was truly impressed by Mary's foresight. I don't need any inheritance or alimony. Just sign the divorce papers right now. And never contact me or the kids again. I don't want to stay with someone who neglects his family any longer. I spoke firmly. My husband's face twisted for a moment, but then he let out a chuckle. Fine by me. Now I'll get to use the old hag's inheritance all by myself. This is perfect. With that, my husband signed the divorce papers without hesitation. You've got a lawyer here, so you should put that promise in writing. Karen said from the side. You're right. Saying no alimony now, only to beg for it later, that's exactly what he'd do. You're so sharp, my girl. Sarah praised Karen. Karen was advising me with my best interests in mind. Thinking that, I didn't argue and had the lawyer draft the divorce agreement as Karen suggested. The discussion about the divorce finished, and I left Mary's house with my children. As I was about to leave, I asked. What Mary gave me before she died isn't part of the inheritance, right? May I keep it as a memento? It's just a jewelry box full of junk, right? Go ahead, it's yours. Sarah and the other siblings were so focused on the inheritance that they quickly shooed me and my kids away as outsiders. After that, we headed straight to my parents' house. Welcome home. I've already put your bags in your room. I had contacted my parents as soon as I discovered my husband's affair and told them about the divorce. Since my parents lived out of state, so I considered moving within the kids' current school district, but I was unemployed at the time. Kids are incredibly adaptable. My mother's words gave me the push I needed, and I decided to move back temporarily. I soon realized it was the right decision. Up until then, we'd only visited my parents' house maybe once a year. At first, the kids were nervous about living with my parents, but they quickly grew fond of them. Grandpa, let's play catch. Kevin, who rarely got to play with his dad, now played catch with my loving father. Grandma, what kind of flower is this? Emma, who had been missing Mary for a while, soon started enjoying the garden flowers with my mother, who knew a lot about plants. The kids were gradually adjusting to their new schools, and a modest yet peaceful life began for us. About 3 months later, I got a call from my ex-husband, John. You tricked us, didn't you? From what he said, it seemed like he was talking about the jewelry box Mary had given me. I heard from Sarah. There is a gem worth millions in that box, right? In fact, aside from the evidence of John's affair, there was another letter in the locker. That letter explained the jewelry box I had received from Mary before she passed. Inside the pouch, which Mary had said I could open when she allowed it, is a 32-carat gemstone called Alexandrite, worth more than $1.5 million. Thanks to this gem, I was able to quickly decide to divorce John. Apparently, Sarah had eavesdropped on my phone call with Karen and found out about the gem. That's why I asked properly if I could keep what Mary had given me before she passed. That's not fair. Even over the phone, I could clearly feel John's furious anger. It was understandable. After all, they were now stuck with not only the inheritance but also a huge debt split 4 ways. I had no idea about the debt. Later, Karen told me over the phone that Mary had taken out a $1.5 million loan 5 years ago to renovate the store. If she hadn't bought the gem she gave me, she wouldn't have needed such a massive loan. That's what I thought, but this was Mary's kindness. Grandma was always so grateful to you, Auntie. With her own children behaving the way they did, she was even more thankful that you became part of the family. She just really wanted to thank me, and as for the $1.5 million debt, Mary planned to pay it off herself through her own work. If John and his siblings had been kinder to her, she probably wouldn't have left them with that debt. They got what they deserved. I hope they truly reflect on their actions. John called me many times afterward, but thanks to the divorce agreement, I was able to shut him down. Not just John, but his siblings tried contacting me too. When I told them, I'll report you to the police if you call again, all communication stopped. According to Karen, they've finally realized they need to figure things out on their own. Now, all 4 of the siblings are arguing over whether to sell the family home. Sarah wants to keep living rent-free in the house, while John and the other 2 want to sell it to help pay off the debt. They seemed close when they were mocking Mary, but in the end, they're all just selfish. I'm truly glad to have cut ties with them early on. The only one I've kept in touch with since then is Karen. Karen moved to the city for college and, by coincidence, got a place near my parents' house. Kevin, I'll help you with your homework.
Yay!
I love you, Karen, because you're so nice. Karen, with her kind heart, is now studying to become a nurse so she can help people like Grandma. Sarah, her mom, isn't reliable, but Karen is working hard, earning a scholarship that covered her tuition, and supporting herself with a job and student loans. When Karen got into college, I offered to sell the gem to help with her expenses, but she turned me down. I want Grandma to see me make it on my own, working a proper job. Hearing her resolve, I decided to discreetly support Karen. Karen is kind and has such a strong will. She's sure to become a wonderful woman, just like Mary. When that time comes, I'll give Karen part of the money from selling the gem. After all, Karen is the only grandchild who stayed by Mary's side. Right now, I'm also looking for a job, determined not to lose to Karen's spirit. I'm thinking about starting my own business that I can balance with raising the kids, and the plan is coming together. It's all thanks to the jewelry box Mary left behind. I'll use some of it for initial investment, but from now on, I want to raise the kids on money I earn myself. I want to go to Finland and see the Northern Lights. Kevin's eyes sparkled as he worked on his homework, which had a world map on it. Recently, Kevin has been obsessed with the globe he got and loves showing off his knowledge of different countries. I want to meet Santa. I'd prefer somewhere warm, like Hawaii. Everyone started imagining the places they'd like to visit. Yes, with the money Mary left behind, I'll take the kids and Karen to the places they dream of visiting. I'm sure it'll be a life-enriching experience for them. Just imagining it filled me with excitement. Mary, thanks to you, we're able to smile like this. Please keep watching over us.